Well, hey there, folks. This is Justin from GameArtPartners.com, and today we're going to pick apart some of the artwork that's available for sale on the website. Some of our best-selling stuff, these incredible characters by artist Dan at Eat Creatures. And these are little RPG guys, quite fun. And what we're going to do is take one of them into Adobe Animate and animate it. And if you're curious where you can find or purchase this artwork, you can go over here to GameArtPartners.com, go to Role-Playing Characters Bundle, and you'll find them right over here. They're usually linked up right from the front page, but you can also go over here to bundles and go to RPG character bundle. But if you just want to learn a little bit about Adobe Animate today, we can do that too. Let me first show you guys though what's included in the bundle. So if you were to just unzip this right after downloading from the website, you'd see you've got a folder called AI or Adobe Illustrator, and this is what Dan usually delivers his work in. When I got a hold of these characters a while back, I decided I just want to go ahead and put them in Flash for you guys. So you do have them separated into Flash/Animate. I should rename this Animate now. Turn that off. But they import in really easily, and so for example, you just drop. Well, you have to have a new document, but you can just drop the AI file right into Animate, and it's going to just bring those characters in pretty much exactly as you see them. Yep, sure enough. But let's go ahead and start with the one from the Flash folder or Animate folder. It's going to take me many years, I'm sure, to get used to no longer saying Flash. All right, so we've got a little archer guy. It'd be fun to make this guy shoot, right? So what we're going to do is, well, as you can see, we've already broken him apart, but, if we hadn't done that, so let's kind of pretend that hadn't already occurred. The way Dan, creates his artwork, they're pretty much separated already, so you don't really have to worry about that. But in Flash, what you're going to want to do is take those Adobe Illustrator groups and make them into movie clips or graphic clips. In this case, I guess either one's kind of the same. It's essentially just a container for artwork. So, and you can see, actually, I've already gone ahead and made all these into movie clips. So we'll stick with that. But where that kind of comes in to the program is you've got this library now of parts. Okay, so you can go over here and let's say I deleted one of them, then I can bring it back in at any time I want. Just drag it back out of there. Okay. A key component of a movie clip or a graphic clip is that if you change one in the library, it's going to change all of them. So, for example, if I go in here and I just start breaking this back apart again, you can go ahead and break it down to further Illustrator groups if they were imported in as groups. If you keep hitting Command B or Control B, probably on the PC, you can see that you go down to the kind of the raw vector, and now it's just that's what it looks like, right? But you'll notice that this has also changed the one over here as well. Okay, but for animation, that's actually kind of important because it means that you don't have to, if you want to make a slight change to something or other, for example, your boss says, "Hey, I want you to recolor this eye." Oh, you don't have to do that spread across 100 frames and do it every single frame, right? So you just do it in one place, and it's going to change it across all those frames. So let's see who we're going to pick on here. Let's get rid of this. We'll leave this off to the side, maybe. Well, let's go ahead and cut that arm off, and I'm going to create a new layer. A lot of times if I'm animating stuff and I just have some extra parts lying around, what I'll do is I'll just put it on another layer and just kind of forget about it. I might even lock it up, right? And this stage size is a little bit too big for just this little character. Let's go ahead and we either make the character bigger or the stage smaller. Let's go ahead and set this to 200 by 200. Okay, a bit smaller. So this is almost kind of like a sticker size, really. Here, we'll go 300 so we can see the arrow shoot out a little bit further. All right, so here we go. Animation 101 in Animate. If you kind of pull down with the mouse and drag down here the frame area, you can see that you can go right here and you can select more frames. So these frames actually don't exist over here. Okay, if you want to insert in more frames, you'd have to go and hit F5, and you can see I've just done that across both layers. Right, I could just do it on one of them though, and if I did it on just that one, you'll notice that that little thing is not showing up at any point past frame 1. It essentially doesn't exist past that point, right? So again, I'll hit F5 over here. If you get into a situation like what I just did, where I've now kind of got, oops, well, that's a whole other problem. Let's put the timeline back in there, where you've got, one little sore thumb sticking out over this way, a little bit too many frames. You can always go over here and just select a broad range and just remove frames. Okay, so now we've made it so the timeline only goes out to frame 9. That's the current frame. And other things you might want to do, let's say keyframe, right? That's a pretty obvious one. Let's hit F6 on the keyboard. All right, get used to doing that. It's a much easier way to keyframe than right-clicking and going over here to insert keyframe. All right, that's another way of doing it. Once you have a keyframe in there, you can kind of slide these around, right? Move them anywhere you want. You could right-click on it and go to clear keyframe, so that's not going to mess up any of the kind of frames you've inserted out here if you just clear it. If you had a keyframe on there and you went to remove frame, that's actually just going to chew away at the amount of frames you inserted out there, right? So most of the time, if you've made like a bad keyframe, you're just going to want to go over here to insert or clear keyframe, and get used to also using F7. All right, so F7 blanks out the frame. All right, so you can see that the artwork is no longer there on that frame, but if I were to step backwards, I can see him again, and a step backwards. Sorry, there we go. Actually, let's go through some more hotkeys. If you hit Command 1, I think on the PC it's Control 1, you get these, so Command 1, Command 2, Command 3, just kind of shoots you different arrangements of the screen. One, I believe, is Show All. One is just basically shows only the stage area. And then I meant to tell you this a second ago, to step forward and backward on the timeline, use the less than and greater than arrows on the keyboard, or the comma and the period key, right? So I got the fundamentals down. All right, let's make this guy shoot. So I don't really need to use these inserted frames, so I'm just going to go and just remove all of them. And what I'll do is I'll just hit F6 as I go through here for each new frame. All right, so this guy's obviously going to pull back his bow and shoot it. And so the first obvious move here is to move the arm back. As we do that, we're also going to move that back. And let's take a look at what this is. It's actually a group, and I guess so this is one thing I probably should have made into a movie clip earlier. Although at this point, because I want to start adjusting this string separate from this artwork, and it might be a little hard to see on a pure white background. Let's change that. I will go ahead and break this apart. So I'm going to go over here to break apart, and you can see that then I'm left with, this is a separate unit, this, and then my strings are they've been broken down back to drawing objects, and I'm going to break that down one more time. Okay, and you'll notice that it kind of goes away, right? So just kind of went in the background. It's now just kind of just the rawest form of it's still raw, man. The rawest form of vector artwork, which is just basically like you just drew it on there. And in terms of things taking kind of precedent over other things on the same frame, and these all these elements are on the same frame, symbolized movie clips, graphic clips, they're all going to appear above anything that you just draw on here. So if I just took a square and I just drew it on here, you can see it's behind all that work. If I took a line, drew it on here, it's just behind there. So what we'd probably want to do is because we'll do this on a few frames, just start to draw out our own lines here. So again, I've just got the line tool. I've set the stroke color to white. The one thing I'd want to change is just match this up to what, the same width or stroke that the other one was. And that looks about right. So just a stroke of 1. And probably as I'm doing this, I'd want to put it up on a different layer. So let's go ahead and just get rid of that. I'm going to go and create a new layer. I'm going to hit F7 over here. All right. Now remember, this is going to be a blank keyframe, so I can kind of start fresh on this one. And let's kind of thumb back to the first frame. All right. So now I'm going to go forward again, and just kind of keep my eye on where that hand is. All right. So I'm going to just draw out that line right there. Don't think it has to be too perfect. Remember, these are all going to be running at 30 or 60 frames per second. And you can see, okay. So probably the one issue then is that the string appears above the arrow here. And, there's a couple ways we could deal with that. We could make this into a movie clip and bring it down on the same layer over here. Another option would just be to go to this first frame and just kind of trace over the existing string and just deal with the lines always being over top that arrow, which might actually even make a little bit more sense. Okay, so now that we've done that, and just another little thing we might want to check is just to see that on this, let's see. Yeah, I think I drew that a little bit too forward. Okay. All right. So let's also make change the bow a little bit. Let's start to arc it down or rotate it down. And again, since I broke this apart, this is now just a group. I'm going to go ahead and hit F8 on this, and that's going to convert it to a symbol. So again, this little component and this one would go into the library now. And I can also adjust the pivot point, so I can rotate this at a different pivot. You can see if I were to rotate it right now, it's going to rotate it around the middle. What I want to do is rotate it from right over here. And the same thing's going to be true over here. So again, just to get over here to the free transform tool, you hit Q, okay, free transform Q, and just there it is, rotated. So anytime you're using that free transform, you can adjust the pivot. All right. So you can see, and then just a little supplemental animation. You might want to just kind of move this guy's head down just a little bit. I wouldn't do that too much because remember, this is really just one frame that we've got going here. So now let's kind of speed things up a little bit. Let's hit F6 on both of those layers. I'm going to pull the arm back again. This time let's move this part first and this part. Okay. Move our arrow back, and then we'll try to keep these lines in line with where they were before. Relative to the bow. And let's just take a look. Okay. Again, since we moved the head down and over just slightly on the last frame, let's do that. And I'm just using the directional arrows once I have it selected to move that around. All right. Another thing you might want to consider doing is making the arrows in the back move up a little bit. So I'm just going to nudge them up one. Do the same thing here. Nudge them up twice now. So you can see that goes up. And let's do this one more time. Another thing you can do is you can skew things. So if you're just in the middle of those free transform arrows right there, or the free transform boxes, you can do the skew on it. But since we've already been rotating it, I think it would look weird if we then kind of switch gears and started skewing it. So just move that over. All right, and still got to move our arrow. Oop, actually that's going quite a ways back, isn't it? Okay. Go down and over, put those arrows up again. And if you want to preview this, there's a few ways of doing it. You can go over here to test scene. That's one way. I don't know what that message is. Let's try it. Let's try it this way. That's odd. I don't know what that is. Let me try it. You know what? I think maybe I locked that folder. I'll have to try that. I think it's having trouble writing the .swf to that folder, but that's okay. There's another way we can do this. We can just go over here and loop playback. Okay, so you can see, and this is a little annoying to watch. Let me just turn that off, or just the visibility off. So you can see that now we're just looping back the playback here in the scene. And, if you wanted to get maybe a little bit of a better sense for it, just hit F5 out here. And that way, when we it'll play these just still frames for a little bit while it loops through, so you can see it pulls back. All right, right. And that's something you might want to like have one frame where it just kind of, when it's at its like peak of being pulled back, you rest a little bit and then he kind of fires it off, right? So let's do that. So I'll give us a little bit of a break. I'll hit F6 over here, and let's let this thing go. So I'm gonna just kind of move the arm up like that. Now you'll notice that it's kind of like a little bit of a gap right here where maybe there should be some artwork. One way we could kind of get rid of that is just kind of move the arm back over a little bit so it's a little less noticeable, right? So it does something like this. Obviously our arrow is going to shoot out like that. This part of the bow is going to go forward probably. And then these strings we would want to put together. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on Snap to Objects. I'm going to snap this over to here. All right, so now those are they've basically just been snapped together. Let's put this right back down over here, this over here. And I'm going to basically just bend the line artwork. So if you just go anywhere along the side of it, you'll notice that next to the mouse cursor, it just makes that little kind of bendy symbol. Whereas if you're near a point, it shows you a perpendicular angle. So, you can have some fun with this. You can bend it however you want, right? Do something like that, maybe. Don't think there's a right or wrong to that. And, okay, that's going to shoot off. I would probably make his head do the opposite of what it was doing before. Go back up. Same thing over here. Make this go back down. And, all right, so you get kind of an idea of what's happening with it. Continue it forward. Hit F6 again. Get that going. And I guess probably do one more frame of this bending back like that. And then kind of do something wild with this maybe. I don't know if I want to go too straight on it or what. Let's just see. Yeah, maybe. And as for this hand, I think you could keep doing what I was doing before. Let me just take a look. Oh, looks like I went and basically put it back where it was. Let me turn snap off. Okay. Move that up, move that down. And let's start to get our bow back to normal again. How did we start this? Okay, it's like that. Let me actually just copy these. So I'm going to just hit copy. One of my favorite hotkeys in this is paste in place. So you just hold down shift while you do your usual paste keys. And I'll paste things back in place again. So you can see now I know exactly where I should put that or bend the bow back to. Oops. And let's move this. Oops. Oh, you know what? I put them on the wrong layer. Let me put these back on the this bottom layer. There we go. All right. So do something like that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to bend this back down slightly. Kind of give this like a little bit of a reverberation type effect. So I'm going to go back again. I'll make another keyframe, go back forward. Just kind of do this type thing. Let's just see how it's looking. Yeah, something like that. And you could sit there and probably do that just over and over again. And I'd even say the more you do it, the even better it is. All right. Oh, what did we do last time? Did we move it up and then, okay, back down. All right, we'll do one last little movement on it. Okay, let's see. Doink. Oh, and we've got to move our arrow completely off, didn't we? All right, so we're... All right, get rid of that guy. Maybe show the tail end of it just one more time, and then after that. All right. And there he goes. Now, what you might want to do is get this back to frame 1 again, right? Now, frame 1, he's got the arrow. Let's do this. Let's copy these frames out. So I'm just going to hold down the Option key and just move them out as I've got them selected. So it's just going to copy them over there. And, yeah, so you got to figure out how am I going to get the arrow back on? And that's probably not as bad as you would think. What you could do is... All right, so let's take our arrow, and out here I'm going to hit F6. Let's just have our arm at that point go back over this way, and I just pasted the arrow in there from what I had it copied in my clipboard. And I'm just going to put it behind everything. Now to do that, I used a hotkey, but you can go over here to Arrange, and that's Send Backward, okay? And so we'll just kind of have this start to appear, right? Out of nowhere, really, but that's okay. Then I'm going to move this forward again, or again using the hotkey. So Arrange, you can go bring the front. You can bring it all the way to the front. Bring forward just does that incrementally. Great hotkey to learn. And then, and you know, maybe this frame you tilt his head back a little bit or something. Just a slight little body movement. All right. So then, yeah, you know, it turns out I never did end up using that other frame over there, did I? Okay, so he's then going to start to put his arrow in there, and this is all going to be a quick movement. So I don't think anyone's going to notice the holes in it. Let's put it that way. All right, and okay, so it's gonna kind of slide this in, and also, well, maybe we could use that arm now. Let me just take a look at it again. I think I'll stretch it out just a bit. And let's see. When we do that, let's hit F6 over here. We'll chew out a little bit of that string. Okay. So he's kind of in one motion, then pulling back on the arrow. And let's give him, well, let's just see how that looks. Again, that's a bit distracting. Let me just go ahead and delete the layer. Yeah, not bad. You know, obviously you could spend a little bit more time trying to more smoothly make that arrow appear. Wouldn't be a bad idea to maybe patch in a little green right there, and just so it doesn't seem like there's this big awkward gap with no. The arm disappears. And you could maybe even get away with taking that other arm, and you could even break it apart. Let's see. Here we go. Yeah, all right. So we can take this, make it into a symbol. It's a little sleeve to patch in. There we go. Might make it go behind. And you're going to probably want to do that in a couple places. Might make the head go a little forward there, back, and still having trouble publishing. Publishing in SWF is really not, I mean, it's nice to be able to preview both ways, but that was the old method of creating a .swf file. Oh, and you know what I think the issue is? I'm probably targeting something I shouldn't be. But you know, nobody posts a .swf anymore. The Flash player is just not used like that. really these days, post iPhone era. And so what you would want to do to export this out now for whatever you're using, whatever game engine, is go over here to export movie, and then you've got a PNG sequence as an option. That's probably what you're going to want to go with, because usually you don't want the background in there. So it's all this empty background is just going to be negative data. Whereas with the JPEG, if you export it out, it would include in this gray background. So yeah, there you have it. Let's watch it one more time. And that's it, folks. That's how you animate an archer in Adobe Animate. Yes, it's a little redundant with this new name change. Animate/Flash. And we'll have some more videos playing with these same characters where we animate walk cycles and stuff like that. So enjoy. And be sure to visit cartoonsmart.com to subscribe to all of our videos.